Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. This is Ben Kinney, joined today with Chad Hyams and Bob Stewart.
Hello, Ben.
We're just going to act like...
That he's been here the whole time?
Okay.
Yeah, we're just going to act that way.
How you doing?
Ladies and gentlemen, we never skip a beat here. Today, the subject is about consistency. And yes, Chad, I have been consistently gone for a couple weeks.
Yes.
But man, give a guy a break. I've gotten to every good place and every bad place in my life because of this subject that we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm intrigued. What the heck are we talking about? Because no one's prepped me on this conversation, Ben.
The word consistency.
Ooh. All right.
Like if you wanted to solve one problem in your life, solve the fact that you're inconsistent with something. Like think about health, Chad. What is something that somebody's inconsistent with?
Well, their diet, working out, in the world of
Hydration.
health. Yeah, I could give you a whole list of things. We could do a whole podcast on just that.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I ate healthy once
Right.
and I worked out before,
Yep.
but that doesn't solve my problem because
You are inconsistent about the healthy actions.
Well, you just said something at the beginning. You said every problem I've had or every good or every bad thing has been consistency. You have been consistent in some things in your health at some points. Like you consistently eat a cheeseburger every day at some points, right? So like I
We did consistently eat blizzards for a
Yeah.
long streak.
yeah.
So, there is like sometimes we be consistent at the wrong things and we get the results.
Yeah, and we
I
call
must
those
have
bad
thought Dairy
habits.
Queen was super pretty because I went there all the time. Oh, in money, Chad, is there, or Bob, is there things that people are inconsistent about that causes them their financial problems?
You
Yeah.
notice he's been gone a little while. He
Yeah.
forgot which one of us is which.
Inconsistently tracking our net worth, like or consistently spending money on the wrong things, or inconsistently investing or consistently spending more than we make. Like, yeah,
It's a good word, isn't it?
it is.
Right. Think about the issues in your relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They have to spur from us consistently doing something or not. Right.
It's funny. I just recently I'm having my boys react more to my wife than they react to me, and my wife said, "You need to be more consistent with them," and I am. I'm not as consistent as she is with them, and kids at 4 and 5, like they're looking for the weakest link, and they've clearly spotted me as the weakest link, and it's a lack of consistency.
Yeah. I think about my dog jumping on the couch.
Yep.
Like there was a point where I tried to be consistent about him jumping on the couch
And he consistently attempted to get on the couch.
because sometimes I'd let him and sometimes I wouldn't.
Yep.
And it just confuses him when I don't.
His
Not-
consistency in trying trumped your consistency in trying
His
to make him not,
inconsistency
right?
and
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, here's the thing. We got to solve it. You want to change something in your life? Let's change how consistent we are. So I read an article the other day and it talked about what being consistent in business does for you. So I thought I'd share a few of the high points that I read. I don't remember where I read it, but so I apologize for the credit here. Let's just pretend that Bob wrote it.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
I've written a few articles about consistency.
Number one, consistency allows for measurement. Like until you've done something for a period of time
Yep.
in a consistent manner, you can't really decide if it works or it doesn't work,
Yes.
whether it's exercise or diet or investing or prospecting or whatever it right is, right?
Yep.
It takes consistency for you to be able to measure. So one of the benefits of being consistent is it allows you to measure and say, this works, this doesn't, and to make tweaks to it. Well, here's another thing. If you do it the same way, and I do it the same way, and you do it the same way, we can see if the process is consistent if it works. If you do it one way and you do it one way and I do it one way, you aren't going to know. It might just be a person issue,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But when you get everybody following the same script and the same process and using the same CRM and doing the same things, you get the ability to measure, and in our world, I would say predict success.
So do you have a timeline on that? I had a mentor earlier in my career who she always said 90 days. You got to give something 90 days to see if it works. Now, there are certain things that probably don't need that much length. Do you find look, we've got to give at least 10 days or at least 30 days to see if there's a payoff or if this was a path worth continuing to follow?
I think there's a time frame, but I don't think the time frame's the same for everything.
Mm.
Like, I think it takes 30 days of doing great digital advertising to see if the account's going to perform at the highest level. It might take, what did Jay say, 66 days to create a habit.
Right.
I think it might take a year to see if your stock investment long-term strategy is going to consistently pay off.
I think, like, as you think about that, Chad, there's very few things in business that you are like, that you're the first person that's ever done that thing. Right. And so, I don't know, the way we've operated our business a lot, R&D, right? We're looking around and seeing like, all right, they've been consistent with that thing and it's led to success for them. And it took them this long, right? So if we're going to try that, we should probably at least give it this long.
Okay.
Like a lead generation, lead conversion, no matter what industry you're in, like that's in some industries, that can be a really long game and you can't make those decisions 3 months in, right? You just don't have the data, but you could look at somebody else who's been doing it and been successful with it and going, it took them 9 months. We should at least give it that long. And then we can make a decision on whether, whether it's worthwhile or not.
So timeline is flexible depending on what the item is.
Here's what I hear from what you're saying, Bob, and what Chad meant to say, but he didn't spit it out. Well, what you're saying is somebody already has that answer.
Yeah.
There's somebody out there that knows how long it takes to get to a Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop when it comes to this specific
It's Mr.
topic.
Owl.
Mr. Owl.
It's Mr. Owl. He knows.
Well, there's only 3 then.
Crunch.
3. Okay. Consistency allows for measurement. Okay. Number 2. Consistency makes you relevant.
Mm.
Consistency
I wanna be relevant.
makes you relevant.
Explain.
People in our world need to know that they are going to get a predictable flow of information from us. It's way too often that businesses adopt initiatives or campaigns or strategies or policies or whatever, and they end it right before it gains traction.
Mm.
What it kind of reminds me of is direct mail. People direct mail, and they direct mail for a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get any business, so they hang up. And then 2 months later, down the road, 3 or 4 customers call and say, yeah, I got your postcard. I've been meaning to call you.
Right.
Did it not work? Did it not work during that time frame? Or did you just need to give it a little bit more time to see? But when you consistently do something, it creates relevancy because people can count on you doing that. And they're going to see you as relevant because, Chad, you always work out. You're always healthy.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, it reminds me, Ben, of that. You used to tell a story way back when about a marketing firm that had done Hobbs Herder, who had created a fake
Joe Realtor,
real estate agent, and they had mailed into a neighborhood consistently for a long time, 8 weeks,
yep.
and then they
I'm just helping you tell the story.
Yeah, I love it. So you obviously remember the story a lot better than I do, but
yes.
And then they surveyed the people in that neighborhood and said, hey, who's the top agent in this neighborhood? And a big percentage of them picked this fake agent that had just consistently been. I mean, they literally made somebody relevant that didn't even exist.
Right. And I don't know where you're going, and I don't know what's on your list that you're going, but to me, I'm hearing the word relevant, meaning I can trust.
Yeah.
Right. So consistency is creating that trust with somebody and therefore relevant in that industry. That realtor became trustworthy and therefore relevant. As you were saying, health, I work out. I don't know how many people reach out to me and ask me a question because they take my word as relevant in that industry because I have consistency in that area. So consistency makes us relevant, which is building trust.
Yeah.
Okay?
I would definitely call you when it came to my health over Bob.
Yes, please.
That's a good decision.
Yes.
Making a good decision.
Okay. Here's another thing that consistency does. It helps you create a reputation. When you're consistent, you get this track record of success because you aren't always shifting gears and trying something brand new. That consistency creates results. And then you start getting this reputation for somebody who gets results. And if I could think of something that I would want to have a reputation for, it would be being consistent.
Yes.
You ever seen somebody that's emotionally inconsistent?
Yes.
You ever dated somebody like that?
Yes.
I was gonna say, like before I got my therapist, I might just look in the mirror for that person.
Yeah.
But
You ever worked for somebody that behaved like that was hot and cold or mean and
yeah.
I worked for this guy once, and I knew where every one of the video cameras were in his business. And I would walk in such a way through these buildings that I was never on camera. And I would never get yelled at because he never saw me. I was so careful because when you were the guy that he saw on the moment that he was unhappy, you got in trouble.
Mm.
I knew every step in there. Where could I walk? I had to zigzag through the building.
You were very consistent on your path.
That's right. Yeah. I wanted to create a reputation of not getting my butt chewed out. Hey, consistency, number 4, creates accountability.
Yes. Tell us more. I love that word.
Well, Bob, think about in your job where you help us out in many of our companies, but when you reach out to people and say, hey, are you working the leads that you generated or the business that you're trying to buy, like all the things that are in your CRM, it wouldn't be such a hard conversation for you to have with these business owners if they were having it every day with their employees.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not, it makes the employees feel like they can get away with stuff.
Yeah.
They wake up and say, well, you know what? It doesn't matter. Bob's going to yell at me once a quarter. And the other guy's never going to say anything. So I just need to make sure I clean it up right before Bob calls.
Yeah. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's like these are great statements, but when they all have that inverse, right? Like inconsistency, it creates no accountability.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly. Well said.
Right?
But if they knew you were checking every day,
yeah,
they would do it every day.
yeah. It's funny. You have a philosophy around here that we kind of earn the right to not get checked every day, right? I mean, that's something you've talked about in our organization so often. And with our people, we try to let them know, look, you bring somebody new into the organization, you got to check on them hourly. Like the first day, it's hourly, right? And how's it going? You got any questions? Do you need any help? And then the next day, maybe it's every couple hours, and then it's once a day, and then it's once
Every
a
few
couple
days,
times a
once a
day.
week.
Yeah, it's
Yep.
once a week, and eventually it's once a quarter. But that person was consistently being held accountable to the point where they earned the right to only be held accountable once a quarter.
Okay, number 5. Consistency maintains your message.
Mm.
This is right from the article. Your team pays much more attention to what you do than what you say. Consistency in your leadership serves as a model for how your people will behave. If you treat a meeting as unimportant, don't be surprised when you find out they are doing the same to other teammates or even your customers.
Mm. It's fascinating. I mean, that's basically like
Your actions speak louder than your words.
yeah.
And they trickle down to the other people in your world.
Yeah.
So what are these 5 things that consistency does? Allows for measurement, Chad.
Yep.
Makes you relevant.
Yep.
Helps you establish a reputation.
Yep.
Creates accountability for you and your people,
Yes.
you as a leader and your people as employees. And it maintains your message.
Okay.
Can I ask Ben a question, Chad?
Of course, Bob.
What do you think, Ben, is something that in your professional life, like, has been a consistent thread all the way throughout?
For me personally,
Yeah. I'm fascinated by somebody who's kind of risen to the level of leadership and done some of the amazing things that you've been able to do. And today is a day that for our organization has been, it's a really monumental day, I think. It's a justification of the hard work we've put in over a lot of years. What's been something consistently that's been a thread through your entire career?
a clear sense of priority,
Mm.
meaning that I had to be okay with things not getting done. And I had to understand that things have to get done in the right order or nothing gets done at all. So if I could do one thing in our business, it would be to ask the question, if we could only get one thing done today, what would it be? If we could only build one feature, if we could only do one ad campaign, if we could only hire one person, if we could only spend money in this way, if we could only do one thing, what would it be? I think that's my primary job at the company, Bob, is to ensure that we work on priorities in the right order. What do you think?
I think that I've come to you a million times and had you say, not right now. We'll do that later. That's something else. There's a different priority right now. Yeah, I mean, that's.
Doesn't mean it's not important.
Yeah.
It's just not important right this second.
Yeah, you've consistently been able to identify the most important thing, the domino that we should knock down next.
I wrote this down the other day. I wrote, let's create a culture of consistency. What if that was the word in your business or in your life for 2022, where you said, all right, we're going to be consistent in things. The first thing that you would do is you would ask yourself the question, what is it that I want to be consistent with next year? Maybe you'll ask yourself, Chad, what in my finances, what in my relationship, what in my health, what in my business, what in my career, whatever. Maybe you'll pick a couple areas and you're going to pick a habit or a task or a system that you're going to say, you know, I'm all in on this thing. Now, the reason we want to do that is because we don't want to have this roller coaster of life or weight or health or relationships or whatever.
Sure.
We want to have more of a trajectory where it's constantly going up. I do all these hand things with my hands, everybody, and I'm like pointing up in the air. And I just realized all of a sudden you guys couldn't actually see the direction I was pointing.
Up, down.
Rocket
up,
ship.
Down, up, down.
Up, not roller coaster.
Correct.
Okay.
You can envision what the roller coaster looked like.
They got that.
When we don't do that, what we end up with is what I call a culture of quitting. I'm going to do this for a while. That didn't work. I'm going to do this for a while. That didn't work. I'm going to do this. It works actually, but I got lazy and I stopped. Oh, better do it again.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You end up training yourself to be okay with quitting instead of training yourself to be okay with being consistent.
I wonder how many of our listeners used to do something that they stopped doing because COVID came along and they used it as an excuse to stop doing it because it worked, yet it was work to do. They were consistent on something or were getting results on something, and before they cemented that consistency, like Bob's push-ups, right? Then Bob became inconsistent on the
Called me out.
push-ups.
You're just as much to blame. You were in the group.
I was looking at you too. I was like, oh, I hope he doesn't say my name.
But he didn't.
When
Ben
Bob
was in
gets-
that group too, Chad. You call him out.
When Bob gets thrown in front of the bus, he brings a friend.
There you go.
That
nice
is
of
what
Bob.
I just learned. Bob will consistently screw a buddy when he is getting thrown in front of the
get over
bus.
here, dude. We can take
Right.
this bus on. Let's do this shit together.
I think about in our
Yeah, you're
business
right.
how many things we were being consistent about. COVID locked us down. We gave ourselves an excuse to stop, and we've never picked it back up again. And it was something that generated results. And we became a culture of quitting instead of a culture of consistency.
So here's your task. Pick one key habit that you can commit to, and then write this down, everybody. Then be ridiculously consistent. I like that word.
a good one.
Ridiculously.
Yep.
High scoring in Scrabble. Got a nice ring to it.
I couldn't spell it in Scrabble, so I'd be
Be
penalized.
ridiculously consistent.
Mm.
That's what I want you to do. So you're going to pick that thing.
Here's real quick before you. It's really close to the end of the year.
Yep.
Right. I don't know exactly what day this podcast will drop, but there's some people, Ben, that are going to be like, yeah. That's going to be my New Year's resolution. But I heard we did this with a small group of our colleagues recently, and you told them do it today.
Yes.
Like you don't have to wait for the new year. Like pick a thing that you want to be consistent about and start it today.
Start now.
No
Right
reason
now.
not to.
Yeah. We've been starting diets tomorrow since I've known you, Bob. If you're gonna throw me in the front of the bus. I'm going with you, but I'm bringing you down to like you and me. We've been gonna start working out and dieting tomorrow, forever.
Yeah.
Nope. Start now. Do some push-ups, Bob.
I'm doing them like
Okay.
right when we get off this podcast. By
Now-
the way, I can probably do about a tenth of what I could do when we stopped being consistent. You know.
So you can do two? All right, keep going. Back to you, Ben.
If one isn't enough, then make a list and pick one habit for each area of your life.
Health, wealth, leadership, legacy.
That kind of thing. Yeah. And then here's what you're going to do. You're going to pick it one. Write it down. We're going to start tomorrow. I want to ask you to add a reinforcement around it. Think of this like this is a tree. It's a good tree. It's a strong tree. You're planting it, right? But you're going to put a piece of wood next to it so if the wind blows from the left, it doesn't topple to the right.
Yep.
You're going to add a reinforcement.
Okay.
As you add that reinforcement, it'll feel more solid. Now I want you to add another one, maybe on the other side of the tree.
Give me an example of these reinforcements.
What would a reinforcement be? In dieting, if you said, hey, I'm not going to have sugar, one reinforcement you could do is remove the things that have sugar from your house.
Yes.
That would be a reinforcement.
Okay.
Right?
Good. Yep.
Now, as you add these different reinforcements, then I want you to add social reinforcements. A social reinforcement would be, Chad, for the month of December, I'm going to have nothing that has sugar in it. I promise.
All right, hold on before you go on, Ben, because right now I'm going to tell our audience members to jump on Facebook, facebook.com/group/win-make-give, find the post about this episode, and get social about it. Tell us what you're deciding to become ridiculously consistent with immediately so we can be there for you on the journey. All right, so we're adding reinforcements. We're adding social reinforcements so we get friends to come along on this journey with us. What else?
And it's not just one reinforcement. It's as many as you can.
Okay.
Think about it in money. A money reinforcement might be you go to your boss and say, hey, I want you to put 10% of my check into a different bank account. Another reinforcement might be for that other bank account, you're going to get rid of your checkbook and your debit card.
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Another reinforcement might be you might move that to a bank that's incredibly inconvenient to go to.
Sure. I did that once. Yeah. Helped me a lot.
You might add a lower limit on spending, or you might say anything you buy, you have to buy in person. So you don't Amazon spend.
Yep.
Do that. What?
Can you get a
Jay
cosigner?
and Wendy Papasan have a thing around like they don't make major purchases like in a week, or they take a certain amount of time. I instituted that with my shopping recently. I don't buy anything without giving myself 24 hours of reflection on it.
That's a good one. So you add as many as you can. The more reinforcements, the better. And then the more social reinforcements. Bob, the reason that we did the push-up challenge was not just because you and me could have talked ourselves out of it. There was 8 or 10 of us on there that we all had to show up, and we did videos of ourselves doing, I actually saw Bob in his underwear doing push-ups. No shirt, no socks, just underwear. Ladies and gentlemen, I could go the rest of my life without seeing Haynes his way.
You know what they call
going
that?
up and down
you know what
on
you
his
need?
carpet.
You need brain bleach. That's what you need, is a good old brain bleach.
Just to get rid of that?
Yeah, to get rid of that thought.
And we do appreciate you never sharing that with the rest of us.
Reinforcements, and then social reinforcements. Then what I want you to do is I want you to build walls around that.
Okay.
Now, what would a wall be? A wall would be
Protecting the time on your calendar that says this time is always my time, so your family knows not to bother you when you're doing your home workout.
that's a good example.
Okay.
You guys think of anything else?
A wall would be
Driving a certain route all the time, so you're not going past that place you used to always go in to grab the drink or grab the bad food or whatever it was. So you're putting some sort of wall on your directional path, so you're staying out of an area.
I like that.
like, I don't know if it's hard for me to differentiate between a reinforcement and a wall.
Sure.
But like, what would the difference? Walls kind of building, like I would think we were talking about health earlier, like getting rid of all the sugar. I need to replace that with a bunch of nuts and healthy type food. I don't know if that's a reinforcement or a wall.
Well, here would be an example. Like a reinforcement would be not have unhealthy food. A wall might be not go out to eat.
Yep. I'm going to say, you say, I'm going to eat here, and you build this little
Yeah.
wall around the house.
Reinforcement might be remove all the alcohol from your house. A wall might be stop hanging out with X,
Jimmy.
Y, and Z.
Yeah, that guy. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are just building walls,
Okay.
changing who you're around, who you're with, all of that. Now, lastly, as you have reinforcements, social reinforcements, and you've built a wall, you got to protect it. Now, you protect it through things like tracking how many days you've gone doing it. Create
Yes.
a streak.
Right.
I remember I was doing the German language on Duolingo, and
Sprechen Sie Deutsch?
no,
Ja?
very
Ja?
very little,
No?
very little. And my streak on Duolingo was so important to me because I hadn't broke it. I ended up going out into the wilderness, and I was without cell phone service for 5 days or 7 days. I got back, and my streak was broke.
Oh.
And I was so discouraged that I'm like, screw it. I'm out.
No Sprechen Sie
Well,
Deutsch.
that's a great thing, though. Things like Peloton and those other companies out there, they get you on that streak by crossing off every day and showing you the calendar and saying, hey, you did it again today, you did it again today, and counting those
That
days.
gamification is a strong motivator for people.
Or setting goals or targets or time frames or amounts, whatever that might be. Right?
Yep.
So
Consistency.
Consistency around the one thing that would make the rest of your life better.
And don't give up until it's something you just can't not do.
Right.
All right.
Let's be consistent, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening to the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Great, Chad. Before you take us out, Ben, I just want to thank you. You've been incredibly consistent personally and professionally to me and to so many others. So thank you for that, my friend. You've been a great role model in that regard.
Even though I've missed a few of the podcast recordings lately.
Even though.
I didn't come in here on those days to say hi and tell you guys that we're alive.
You did.
waved
We
sometime.
forgive you because you were out conquering the mountain, and now that we're at the top, there's a bigger summit, but we're headed to the next one.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so
keep
let
winning.
me wrap this up this way and say we will consistently be here for you, audience, whether that's with or without Ben Kinney, as you've seen. Thankfully, it's with Ben Kinney again for a little while until the next mountain needs to be conquered, as Bob just said. Please remember, join us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/win-make-give. We want to know what it is you are about to become ridiculously consistent with. Because, careful, we might just help hold you accountable to it. Until our next episode, remember, do good.